I just want to dive into a little bit before we let you go is UNC.
Mm-hmm.
So UNC's obviously, they're coming off one of their roughest years in decades. Key departures: Cole Anthony is first round pick, Brandon Robinson, and then kind of some ancillary like graduate transfers, Keeling and Pierce and those guys.
Yep.
Another massive bunch of new additions: Caleb Love, Day'Ron Sharpe, RJ Davis, Walker Kessler were all top 50 recruits. And then you've got guys like Puff Johnson and Kerwin Walton as well. You've got Garrison Brooks, of course, who's back in I guess, an elevated role, even though he's been featured now for quite some time. Armando Bacot and Leaky Black as well, all kind of
Yeah.
in elevated roles. Um, I have been impressed with UNC. I mean, they've played some good competition. Iowa's a terrific team that they lost to the other night, but they've beaten Stanford.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first thing I wanted your thoughts on, Caleb Love has really struggled. I really like just kind of like his overall moxie and competitiveness. I enjoy that part of him, which keeps me optimistic on like his
Mm-hmm.
ability to turn things around. But he can't make a shot. And
Nope.
he even struggles decision making sometimes, shot selection at time. Um, is that something you've noticed too? Do you see a path for him uh, to get better? I mean, he obviously was a pretty highly touted recruit, and sometimes we put unfair expectations on these players. Like, he's still a freshman and he's gonna need time to develop. But obviously, I think that's got to be one of the main kind of storylines for them so far.
Totally. And like, it's important to remember that like if you were to stretch out over the course of a full like, 30, 35 game, 40 game season, whatever, like over let's like remove COVID from the equation here. Just
Yeah.
like Caleb Love's a freshman at UNC, like he was probably going to have a 4 game stretch at some point where
Mm.
he shot, 35%, right? Over this 4 it just maybe it just happens to be this like it's this first 4 games, against pretty good competition actually. Um so like I'm not out on Caleb Love, and I think even when he's had some bad decision making, I think some of his transition passing, it's like he's even when he's forced it, it's like he's still seeing something there.
Yep.
I kind of like that. I thought he got going a little bit in the Stanford game
That
because
was
they got him 2 catch and shoot threes off pin downs.
Mhm.
And I thought that was great and like something I'd like to see more of, like more Caleb Love to like try to boost his confidence. Like, look, UNC's offense isn't like the best at generating like open catch and shoot threes, but like go watch Cam Johnson tape from a couple of
Yeah.
years ago. Like they have stuff in the half court, like some of their their box set actions that go into elevator door screens, the slice with the pin off of that. Like you can get Caleb Love looks in those sets. So that's something I'd like to see a little bit more of. It'd be great to be able to see more spread pick and roll with Caleb Love
Mhm.
too, but unfortunately, man, like you're just not going to see it this year. Like it just doesn't. UNC doesn't run a lot of spread pick and roll like in general, and they don't really have the personnel to do it, even if they wanted to. And
Right.
we can touch on that more in a second because I want to say this about Love. Like the one bigger concern I have with him is like he just doesn't look that bursty.
Yeah.
Um, he's like similar to Cole last season. Like he's
Mhm.
not creating separation, and these drives into the lane are creating a lot of sort of like flailing, contested
Yeah.
twos from just horribly inefficient regions of the half court. And yeah, 4 of 23 on threes, 17%. 8 of 23 on long twos,
Mm.
35%, and 6 of 18 at the rim, so 33%. So yeah, I mean and he's doing 24.5% turnover rate. So like again, I think a lot of that can be attributed to some of the decision making, and then also his inability to sort of like separate in the paint. Think about when Kobe White was there 2 seasons ago. Like
Mhm.
not like not like White has like the most like explosive first step, but he's so slippery in
Yep.
his ability to split ball screens, and I do think that he benefited though from a UNC team that had Cam Johnson, best movement shooter in the country that year, and also had Luke May. And Luke May didn't shoot great from deep that season,
And Kenny
but he could
Wilson.
at least credibly stretch the court. And like UNC doesn't have that this year. UNC had so many offensive challenges last year, and a lot of it was because the personnel wasn't great. They had to play Brooks and Baycott together, and then their wings were mostly non-shooters.
Yep.
Leaky Black, Andrew Platek. Keeling got it going during like the back half of the year. Brandon Robinson was solid. And so that was sort of a red flag for me, was that last season's team shot the ball so poorly and had so little wing shooting, and that caused issues for them in the secondary game and in the half court. Well, guess what? Brandon Robinson left. Cole Anthony left. Christian Keeling left. Those were the three best shooters on that team. And so I was pretty worried in the offseason, because it was like, barring some sort of like unforeseen development, I think Playtech has shot the ball pretty well so far this year, but like, he's lower volume. He's not like a true, floor spacer, and he'll make some shots, I guess, for them. And he does some other stuff too. So he kind of helps them, but it's like, man, if you're relying on Playtech to give you like floor spacing, you got a little bit of a problem. And like, they're always going to play two big guys. And that has issues that cramp UNC's half court spacing, cramp the secondary spacing. And so I think Caleb Love is dealing with some of those same issues that Cole Anthony had a year ago. So not just that, he himself is struggling to separate, but it's also like, he's just seeing a lot of guys in the lane, and that's tough too. And
there's some structural things there.
Yes.
And there's some individual flaws, but it's also a bigger picture type thing.
Yeah, totally. And I wrote about this in the offseason too. Once Baycott and Brooks said, they both said pretty early they were coming back, but it was like, okay, so UNC's bringing in Day'Ron Sharpe. They're bringing in Walker Kessler. They've got Brooks. They have Baycott. Part of me kind of wishes they could be able to play Leaky Black at the 4. Like, he might be a college 4, but there's just no way to access those minutes, in part because if you're looking at it this way, you're like, okay, UNC, they're going to play two traditional bigs 99.9% of the minutes of the season. That's what Roy wants to do. That's what they're going to do. And it's just, you can't take those 80 minutes per game between the 4 and the 5 and just say 20 to Baycott, 20 to Brooks, 20 to Sharpe, 20 to Kessler. Like, it doesn't work like that.
Right.
And I think one of those guys sort of needs to get pinched, and I think it's probably Kessler.
Yeah.
I think, I did not buy like Garrison Brooks preseason ACC player of the year. Like, let me tell you, I did not vote for him preseason. Garrison Brooks is a great college player, but like, that was a lot of people just being like, oh, he averaged he averaged lots of points and rebounds per game.
Traditional stats.
Yeah, exactly. And and he plays at UNC, and they're going to be good this year. Like, boom, this is my vote. But so like, Garrison's got to get his minutes, and Baycott, he's going to get his minutes, and like, Day'Ron Sharpe's probably the best player on this team.
I've been saying that since the first game. I mean, I really wanted your thoughts on him, because
love him.
Oh my God. I mean,
love him.
The most pleasantly surprising part of his game, and I think we even might have exchanged a little bit of this on Twitter. I mean, as a passer, he's advanced. Like, and I think that shows even more because of how much high-low you see in Carolina, and obviously how much he gets to catch the ball like on the reverse in their secondary break offense. But I mean, between his passing and rim protection, I think he's their best NBA prospect right now, and he might just be straight up their best player.
Yeah, I agree. Right now, yes and yes. And it's a problem then that he played 16 minutes against Texas and 14 minutes against Iowa. They can't get their 5 best players on the court at the same time. They can barely get their best player on the court right now. Like, he's played under 20 minutes in 4 of the 5 games so far this year. The most he's played in a game has been 22 minutes, and that was the opener against Charleston. Like, you can't get this guy on the court enough, but you also can't play him with Brooks and Baycott. Like, it's a personnel. The personnel doesn't fit. But like, yeah, I'm sorry. Like, you have to find 25 minutes a game for Day'Ron Sharpe. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you have to do it. Like, whatever you're giving to Kessler, stop doing it and take some minutes away from, like, this guy has to be on the court the majority of the game. I know he's been in foul trouble some, so like that too has played a role. It's not just like Roy not playing him or whatever. His anticipation skills defensively are so good. The event creation has been phenomenal. Passing lanes, rim protection, everything. He's so well built, and yet he moves pretty gracefully. And I just love his decision. I love his decision making offensively, like no processing at all, no delay, no buffering, quick decision maker, smart analytical player. Yeah, he's one of the best center prospects in this draft. You know, I mean, everyone's, you know, Mobley is obviously the class,
Sure.
but beyond that, like, could Sharp be the second best college center prospect this season? Like, I don't think that's inconceivable.
And I don't
So
think
yeah,
the consensus has quite caught up to that yet. And some of it may just be, to your point, he hasn't played enough. I think
yeah,
you've got to be pretty locked in on watching, multiple full game UNC films to notice that. But he's been terrific. The other guy I was going to bring up just briefly before we move on,
hmm
RJ Davis, from a physical standpoint, I don't really know what to ever make of him as an NBA prospect, but
hmm
he kind of just gives me like eventual, not now, eventual all ACC 4-year guard,
yeah,
Joel Berry, Marcus Page type vibes. He just seems a more college ready guard right now, although, there just may not be a huge top end ceiling there. I think
yeah.
he's going to be terrific for Roy for a while.
Yeah, I love. I mean, he's their best guard. Like,
Yeah,
he's been significantly better than Caleb Love so far. And just to backtrack very briefly, I
sure.
also thought in the Iowa game, Caleb Love's off-ball defense was pretty brutal. I thought Iowa got some wide open threes because he was ball watching or just like snoozing away from the basketball. Back to RJ Davis though. Yeah, he's been great. I agree. Like, I don't know what the ceiling for him is unless he just becomes like a nuclear pull-up shooter,
Yeah.
like that. Like, that's the but just, he's 5'11, he's 6 feet tall. Um, and he's not like an ungodly athlete, and he's not, built like a fire hydrant like Kyle Lowry or whatever. Like,
Yep.
so yeah, he's gonna have to just become a great shooter. He's shot the ball okay. Like, early indicators are good. He's made 8 of 18 threes, 15 to 21 from the free throw line.
Pretty
Um,
good.
less good from the mid range, but I think he's been like, I've really liked RJ Davis so far. And yeah, they probably need him to play on the basketball a little bit more. Not like UNC really like they play through the post so much, but like, if you could think about them from a like more sort of like conventional modern offense, like, I think Caleb Love playing off the basketball a little bit more, hunting his catch and shoots, because I think Caleb Love has been a little timid at times looking for a shot, and letting RJ be the primary is not like a horrible idea. Assuming you can get buy-in from, from those two guys. But no, I think Davis has been great. He does obviously not like a one and done guy, and looks like he's going to be a really big time, like, multi-year talent for Roy that can be a playmaker and a volume scorer for them at some point.
Yep.